go back and timestamp it, but it's people that are listening to us live that can't hear
Yeah.
on the live portion of it.
And when you do that, Cindy Roller's going to text me and go, "We can't hear Terry. His microphone's not on."
This is for you, Cindy Roller. You out there?
Because she watches it every week. She texts me and tells me when I can hear his papers or I can't hear you.
You ladies use your man voice tonight.
Yeah, and you nearly have to talk right into it.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Would that be inappropriate to say hello, Cindy?
No, that would not be inappropriate at all.
Cindy Roller, I hope he hears.
Like, Sandy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Are we? All right. Let's call tonight's meeting to order, and I'll ask you to silence your phones and stand with me as Chief Page offers our invocation.
Heavenly Father God, Lord, we come to you. Lord, we ask that you forgive us in the ways that we have failed you. God, we lift up our counsel to you. That we make decisions for our city, God, that would be your will and your guidance. God, we just ask that you watch over everyone, keep them safe, keep them as they travel home tonight. Lord, we thank you for the rain. We ask you forgive us in the ways we fail you. In your precious son's name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Items of community interest. First things first, Monday, July the 4th, City Hall will be closed. The Chamber of Commerce is hosting the Chair Fair this year on July 16th is Friday night. Most of you know that's an auction benefiting the Chamber. The next scheduled meeting for the council is July the 12th, 2 weeks from today. The week following, which is the week of the 19th, plan to be here at least one day. We don't know exactly what day yet for the first budget meeting. And my report on the rodeo, and I think there are many people in here that can vouch for it, was a huge success this year. If nobody has any items of interest that they want to share, we're going to move on. City Manager's report.
As you probably remember, I've been making application to FEMA for funds for the February freeze event recovery. 2 weeks ago, I was notified that the fuel charges for the entire city of Bowie will not be allowed for recovery. But they asked for specifics on city facilities and what they call necessary facilities, which included grocery stores, assisted living facilities, medical clinics, and other facilities that are necessary to keep people warm and fed. Jay Evans put together a list of these facilities with the kilowatt hours used and the cost based on the high fuel charges. Typically, when we sent in the information, FEMA immediately answered saying something is not allowed or whatever. I always heard from them, but this time I've not heard from them in a week. So maybe we're on the way to collecting some funds from them for our costs during the freeze. I'm sure that based on my experience, the application process is not over, but hopefully we are near the end. I have no idea how much money we will get from the process, but maybe it will be substantial. I've included in your packet this week the May sales tax report, which is good news. Sales tax collection for May totaled $226,400.52, an increase of $59,622 over last year's May report. Fiscal year to date, the collections are $1,429,751.12, up 17.56% compared to last year. While the 12-month moving average is 13.99% higher than this time last year. This all goes to show you that our local economy is fully on the rebound and doing well, which is good news. The street department is starting the paving process, which has been slowed by the May rains. Now that the weather has dried up, we can start paving. Strong Street has been started, but the forecast is for a full week of possible rain, so we might be slowed this week. As the summer dries up and heats up, we may be paving more streets, especially streets that have new lines laid in them. Last week on Thursday, our Texas Water Development Board loan officially closed, and we have started the process of getting over 50,000 feet of sewer lines laid. In July, we must submit the environmental information docket, which was required by the Water Development Board. We budgeted for the environmental study, but we were hoping that we would not have to do the study. The engineers have to submit an engineering feasibility report in July. We should get approval of the engineering feasibility report by the month of October, and engineering design should be approved by December of this year. Design surveying and design will take place from July 2021, which is next month, to August of 2022. Approval of the design with final revision should be done by October 2022. Bidding, award, and contract execution and approval will be done by December 2022, and construction should begin in January of 2023. As you can see, this is a long, drawn-out process. Construction must be finished by October of 2024 for the proceeds of the loan to be tax-free. So we need to push along, so you can pretty much say that's going to be a final date. We're going to try to get funds from the loan to do the paving ourselves, as we can pave much more than a contractor can with the same money. I found the Texas Water Development Board to be a very reasonable group and easy to work with, so I think that they'll probably go for that. Any questions?
No questions from the council?
So a 4-year process, we have to do all of the work in 10 months.
Yeah. Basically, that's it. But it should go pretty fast after all the engineering design, all the questions are answered and stuff. And as much study as they do and as much surveying and whatnot, it just takes a lot of time to do that. But after they've done all of that, it should, they should be able to knock it out in that 10 months.
I have a question. When you're talking about the street being paved, you know, that we could save money by letting our own guys do it, but is there any way we could kind of know what the difference of cost would be for them doing it? Because they would possibly get a lot more done maybe if we, do you think the people that we send it out to could get more done in that period of time? Then
Here's the problem. If they go down the middle of a street, all they're gonna pave is the trench. Our pavement's gonna stay. If you'll go over and look on South Mill, if you look where we've laid that sewer line over there, that's all they paved, is what was over the trench. So we can pave the whole street where they're just paving the trench, and that's typically the way it's done.
So you do the trench first, then you come back to the street, the entire street last. So what you're saying?
Yeah, they won't pave it, they'll pack it to grade and spec, and then, we'll come back and shoot the whole street.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And we'll be able to do that, where we can do the whole street at one time. It would be nice, but they won't pave anything but the trench, so.
did not know that.
I've already asked that question, Terry.
Hey,
I
I just
said,
want to make
"Really?"
sure.
You know, I was complaining to them about it, but that's.
I'll
just
make
the
sure
way-
Cindy Roller knew that.
My phone's gonna be blowing up anytime now. Any other comments? If not, let's move on to the next section, which is the consent agenda items. You have your minutes from the last meeting, plus you have the write-offs for the utilities and the library, all of which we will approve at once. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Bates?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is the second reading of Ordinance 2021-06 and Ordinance amending Appendix C Fee Schedule Sewer Rates 2018 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bowie, Texas, increasing sewer rates and adding a 5-year schedule, providing a savings clause, a repealer clause, and an effective date. Two of you were not here at the last meeting, but the new rates were approved by the attending council. They're also in your packet. This is the second reading for it to go into law. It'll take place October 1st. Do I have a motion to accept as presented?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Bell? Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
And Love?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the second reading of Ordinance 2021-07, an ordinance of the City of Bowie, Texas, amending the City of Bowie Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 13, Parks and Recreation, Article 13.400, Selma Park, Section 13.402, Regulations of Conduct by adding 9C, providing a savings clause, a severability clause, and an effective date. This is also the second reading, so I would entertain a motion to accept as presented.
So we're just adding the third section there, the C, is that correct?
9C.
A and B were already in effect?
Yes.
Okay.
So move.
Okay, Heffley beat you, and you got second. Heffley on the motion, Bell on the second. Gunner,
Aye.
Higgins,
Aye.
Love,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Heffley, Bell.
Aye.
The next item is some new business. It's the Montague County Tax Appraisal District to approve the proposed 2022 budget. Bert's sat on that board. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask them.
I'll make a comment before I do it. That board and that entity is probably as lean and mean as machine as there is in this county. They watch their dollars, and it's a very efficient operation. I highly recommend that you, based on my viewing of the budget that they've requested, that you approve it.
I would like to say that on sheet 31, Bowie gained $10 million worth of extra funds. So I want to thank them for that. That'll pay for our sewage.
I found it very interesting that Bowie and the Bowie ISD, we make up 14% of the entities inside Montague County, but we actually make up over 36% of the tax base for Montague County, if you cut the numbers. So I thought, yeah. It was real interesting.
You forgot to turn that off. So, would anybody like to make a motion to accept this as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Higgins? Gunner?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bell? Bates?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is proposal of ordinance 2020-08. Is that right? Shouldn't be 2021. Okay, we're going to correct that. It should be 2021. 2021-08.
Yeah.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bowie, Texas, amending Chapter 10, Traffic Control by amending Section 10.407, variable speed limits established, adding South Mill Street from Mayor to Highway 287, changing time to 7 a.m., repealing the conflicting clause, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date. Do you want to say anything about this guy? Yes, and talk into the microphone.
Hello, Cindy. So, I was approached by the superintendent, Mr. Enlow, requesting that we change the school zones, the times from 7:30 to 4 to 7 to 4. They've changed, I think, last year and then this past year. Well, they didn't have school the one year, but anyways. The schools are starting earlier than they used to. They don't start at 8 anymore. Some of them start at 7:50 and various times, and the kids are out earlier, and they felt like the time needed to be dropped to 7 to have safer school zones for the kids. And then they didn't know why there wasn't a school zone at the high school and requested that. And they've also requested the service road, but that's a TxDOT issue, and I've contacted TxDOT, and they will not look at it till school starts. A couple weeks into school starting, they'll go out and do their study, and that's a whole nother. But this all was prompted by the superintendent requesting, and we went and talked to Bert and got his approval to move forward this and bring this to you guys. So I feel like that it's a good idea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we talked to Blake and just figured out it's on. Yes, ma'am. Anyway, we talked to Blake and figured out that the best way to do it, instead of buying all new signage and stuff, that we could buy permanent adhesive stickers to stick over the 7:30 to make it 7 a.m. and and they're reflective, just like the sign is. There might be a point in time 10 years from now when we have to replace them, and we sent the bill for the school for the stickers, so that took care of that. So.
Yeah, because these are new signs.
And Blake agreed to pay for them, so no problem. It's not costing us anything other than our guys have already stuck the stickers on the sign, so.
Yeah, I hope you all approve it. They've already stuck the stickers
If
on.
they don't, they're gonna have to go scrape them all off. They jumped the gun a little bit,
They did. Hey, they're trying to be proactive.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just heard the door, one of the doors, somebody came in one of the doors. Okay. Okay, oh. Oh, it's my parents.
We're not afraid of them.
We're not afraid of them, no. Well, y'all might not be. I am. Okay, so let's entertain a motion to accept this new ordinance.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner.
I'll second it.
Higgins.
Those cross-country runners early in the morning need a
Early in
little
the morning.
protection.
Bell? Bates?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
And Higgins.
I would like to add that
Did you say aye? Would you please say aye in your microphone, Higgins? Aye. Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like to add that, anything we can do to keep the kids safe, because I know this is going to a little off subject here, but even the fact that they changed that red light there at the Allsups and the Ys, there was a lot of conflict over that, but
But it's already settled down, yeah.
I'm telling you right now, when you have kids in school and you travel down that road, been on the fire department in the past, I'm telling you what, that was a great move for the people. If it inconvenienced a little bit, I'm sorry, but the safety of our children come first versus, a little inconvenience for us, because I'm telling you what, guys, we're doing the right things to protect our kids. So we need to keep all that in mind every time we discuss something like this.
Amen.
Absolutely. All right, so the next item on the agenda is to consider amending the City of Bowie Community Room Rules and Regulations. And it's listed only on here as section 16 with the alcohol policy. God didn't go far, did he? This has been actually talked about for several years now. He has a reason, the community center has reason, so I'd like for you to hear his first.
Okay. Well, this was started on my side from, we're having trouble, a couple of issues with when people rent the community center for, say, a wedding or something like that, and they're having alcohol, the policy says they have to have an officer. We have officers saying, Chief, I feel so out of place there. They don't want me there. I look weird there. I don't want to be there. They ask us to hide, so you can't be in the pictures and stuff. And so the officers, I understand, but that's the policy, so we go with it. And then we have other events that came up, like Jim Bowie Days, and they're wanting to hire X amount of officers, and unfortunately, the officers are saying, I don't want to do that on my day off for the price that the ordinance set. So we talked to Bert about, can we change that? And then it came to our attention that people are complaining to Clyde about us being there, that they're renting that, not wanting us there. Officers don't want to be there. People don't want us there. Our officers prefer not to be there. They're having to come in on their day off. For city functions, they're not even getting the off-duty rate. They're having to work their hourly rate, which they're not getting paid at all for, because you've got to work extra 4 hours before you get overtime. So that's causing some complaints inside the department. But we've been dealing with that. But our thoughts were, I went back and tried to look, and we have never, to my knowledge, had an issue of anybody when they're serving alcohol that we've had to do anything out there outside of a rodeo. Anything inside the building, we've never had officers that have had to deal with anything. The alcohol's not caused any problems. I believe this ordinance or this rule was put in place when they first put the building in. I think they were afraid, I can't remember if we were wet then or not, and they were afraid it was going to be the Wild West. We're not having issues inside that building. We do have at least 2 officers on duty all the time that can respond if there's an issue like they would at the rack or anywhere else. We just feel like it's a waste of city resources, and the people don't want it anyways, so we were hoping to possibly make that where for private events, like you're still going to need it at rodeos. When you have a huge event, and it's going to be of common sense if Clyde's department says, hey, we're having this huge event, we believe there needs to be an officer, then great, they can request and we can assign officers or get people to volunteer. But we just don't feel like on everyday small events like birthday parties and weddings that there really needs to be an officer there.
Yeah, I understand. I hear what you're saying, but some of those weddings, I mean, I know you guys probably haven't had a call out there or had to deal with an issue, but all it takes is just one time.
That's
for
true.
us to come inside there and get, maybe they'd sue the city if we didn't have anybody out there. But I just feel like when alcohol is involved, even at weddings, because some of those weddings can get out of hand when you're dealing with family members. And I just feel like a police officer out there, and if it's a pay issue, we need to address that separately. I understand. I hear that sounds like that's what most of the complaint is about, is just the pay for the officer, which
That's what started
Yes,
it,
sir.
and we had these other issues, we just hadn't voiced them because that was
Right.
the rule, so.
Well,
And then we found out the people were not wanting us, I
Right.
found that out from Clyde, so.
Well, I mean, they don't want you there, but when they need you there, they need you there. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
If they really didn't want it that much, then don't serve the alcohol.
yeah. I mean,
Well, some people,
That's-
that's very important, they
Yeah,
won't do
that's-
away with that.
That's,
I mean, I understand what you're saying about it, but I feel like if we have to have alcohol, if there's alcohol out there, we need to have some kind of a police presence there.
Or
But-
if it's not police, maybe we change it to event security.
True.
Maybe
And
they want to hire, I know, like Deanne Sherman does event ticketing and security and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we change it from Texas Certified Police, to event security staff.
Right.
We find some way to define that, and then they can require the event security staff to be, dressed a certain way or something like that. But
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, in all honesty, I don't want to pick I don't want to pick and choose who we do and don't do it for, because you can have some extremely large wedding parties out there. You may have some small ones, and there may be a situation that maybe it was unnecessary to have one, but really not. I mean, I agree. We, to be good stewards of our city, we need to protect our citizens. We need to protect, hey, some innocent person going to that wedding that, you know, just wants to go there for the right reasons, but we have someone, I mean, sometimes alcohol-related situations happen. They happen when there's non-alcoholic-related situations. So I truly feel it's going to be very difficult for us to pick and choose when we have them, because we don't really know what capacity or the number of people that are going to be there. So I want to keep that in mind, because, I mean, we have, of course, the rodeo. When you have a concert out there and you're serving alcohol, that's not Jim Bowie days, but, you know, even when the fire departments have something out there, big functions or whatever. Now, we try to hire and pay the guys that we do, but I think it's really important that we don't give up our security out there. I mean, that is a presence of our community. And if we took that on as a community center, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I would do anything to help our police officers because I appreciate them. But we got to have protection out there in our functions. That's just my opinion. I'm one vote.
And if we need to go back and read the ordinance about it and change it to fairly compensate the officers, then we need to do that.
Yeah.
So,
I agree there
and
wholeheartedly.
whatever grievances else you guys have, we need to know, so,
Okay.
Yeah.
so we can address them.
I spoke to Scott Head before the meeting, and he's the current president of Jim Bowie Days, and he was very vehement that we still need to have security during Jim Bowie Days. He's the current president, has no plans to resign that I know of, but I can't guarantee you that the next Jim Bowie Days president would feel the same. So if this clause wasn't in here, would they spend the money if there wasn't a requirement? I can't.
Well, as far as Jim Bowie Days, that requirement's for inside the building. They're not required to have officers at the actual rodeo. They have, as long as I've worked here.
Yeah.
But they're not required by policy to do it. It's only for inside the building.
For the building, yeah.
And we did have one fight, but it was outside the building. It wasn't inside the building. Well, I was
Okay,
told
so
about one.
then maybe what you do is you consider the customers. I mean, she's talking about a private security company. We don't have a private security company in Bowie. What happens when we have officers that won't do these jobs? Are these events canceled? I mean, that's the problem right now, is Jim Bowie did have a hard time finding people to work it this weekend. So we do not have the option of a private security company in Bowie. What happens? Does that wedding or does that birthday party or BHS alumni, does that event get canceled? So, I mean, as important as it is for the security, I'm not disagreeing about that, but now you're limiting yourself. Well, if we have officers that won't do the off-duty work, we don't have a private security company.
We haven't had that problem, though, so far with them not working.
Well, we almost did it.
Yes.
As far as the Jim Bowie Days rodeo or the dance, the assistant chief who schedules that, he came to me, he said, nobody wants to work. I can't, it's a voluntary thing because it's not a city's,
not a
technically a
city
city
function.
function, like a concert
We
is
upped the
considered.
salary.
And so he said, I can't get anybody who wants to work it, so.
Would they be willing to do it, though, if they're compensated for it
Well,
correctly?
it says $25 an hour, and we talked to Scott Head, and now it's $50 an hour, and we got it covered. We still had to call some officers from St. Joe and the sheriff's department, but
Okay.
it did help, yes.
Yes. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
I think there's always a way. We just got to figure it out, and we're going to leave that up to you, okay?
Well, it says $25
It
an hour.
says
so I-
$25, so that
I know,
amount's
but
got
I'm
to be
just saying,
changed.
we will take care of the compensation, you know, as far as that goes, if, hopefully, that if that's the cause, because I don't want to quit having function in our community because I mean,
Well,
even
let me
if we,
ask you this.
there are some other
Yeah.
people. We've hired people from out of town to come work some of our functions before. You know, if we just need someone that has experience as an officer to be able to.
Well, Terry, there's veterans out there that would do that. We've got neighborhood watch. I mean, I'm sure some of those people they don't have to necessarily be armed. They just have to be someone out there just patrol the situation. They can call the police if they have to.
What is the
See what-
criteria for being able to have? What is that security officer? What are their qualifications that they have to be?
I'd have to read the
The
rules
current
there. I don't have them in
ordinance
front
says
of
they
me.
have to be a Texas peace officer. The way it's written
And I believe
today.
it says up to a certain amount of people, one officer per certain amount of people, and it's
Yeah.
$25 an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if it says, does it say in there the 25 an hour?
Well, there's something, 25 an hour is in there for, that may be for the city
Anyway,
concerts.
I gave them permission to raise that to $50 an hour to see if we could get officers to come for that.
Right.
So, I might get a gun and a badge for $50 an hour.
I'll do it for 50.
Nobody's giving you a gun and a badge.
Oh, come on.
I'm not going to be upset either way. I'm just, we were having trouble getting officers, which prompted this, and then it led into learning people aren't wanting us to be there, which is, so I'm just bringing that to y'all's attention. You guys get to decide whatever you want it to do. I will tell you, from my point of view, we haven't had an issue out there, and to me, it's not a whole lot different than any other place we have in town that we respond to if we get a call. We don't have an officer stationed at,
I mean, we don't
we don't have an officer
require,
stationed at Dos Chili's or Spicy
that's what I
Mexico or
was
the
gonna say,
Wrap
we don't
or any
require
other
any of
place,
those
so.
to have an officer on
But
duty, and they'll all
I
hold
also
100
understand
people.
what you're saying too.
But the city of Bowie doesn't own those facilities either.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and how much of we've never had a situation is because there has been an officer present. I mean, having been there this weekend, the 3 bouts of fisticuffs we had in the parking lot down by the pool,
Right.
were they in the parking lot down by the pool because there were officers present inside the building? And would they have been inside the building with people hurt if there hadn't been an officer present? That's
Right.
that's where I'm
Yeah,
kind
I
of,
understand what you're saying. I don't know the answer to that, but I understand.
and that's what gets my gut is, yeah, we've not had one, but is that because there has
That's
been an
true.
officer present?
Right.
That's true.
And I've even thought about, at Selma Park, once Bert came along, him and the mayor, I believe, we now have an officer during holidays that stays out there all night long. So I scheduled that. I know that's coming in advance. And my point of view, Jim Bowie Days Rodeo could possibly be that we could assign 3 officers at work during those events, that where you'd have one assigned, but I just don't feel the need for weddings and birthday parties. I just think it's a waste of city resources myself, but that's not my decision, so.
So I'm going to ask Clyde, do you have something that you would like to add to this?
Well, the deal of it is, period of time, we've not had any trouble, those needed officers just standing there.
So you told me a story a while ago where an officer hid in a closet because of a wedding. The people didn't want him present. And I guess that makes some sense. They don't want an officer staring at them while they're enjoying something.
East room, but as far as rodeo, they've always, there's no ordinance saying that, they've always done it. And because you got to have an officer, and when the Louis rural, when they had their concerts, you have to have officers there.
So-
That's a whole different thing than our concerts.
So Che, let me ask you this. Let's say we don't have an officer out there and something happens at a wedding or whatever. 2 people get an altercation. They're injured, they go to the hospital, and say someone sues the city and says, hey, but y'all didn't have security out there to stop this. What's the recourse on that? And I know people can sue anybody for anything, but what's our recourse on that?
Well, I think, there could potentially be a lawsuit. What I would like to see, which I don't know about, which hasn't been said, is when someone signs up for this, is there any type of waiver or anything like that they sign, they waive as far as, relinquishing any rights to sue or anything like that, for having people at this type of an event?
Larry Burke, you signed that piece of paper on that,
Yeah, I signed giving them permission for alcohol.
and it has the stuff.
Yep. If I may, when somebody wants,
Says right now.
Well, what I would like to see, and maybe we could draft or so forth, if this is a way that this council wanted to go, is whoever's renting this from the city, if they're going to have alcohol, if we're not going to have officers, have some kind of waiver they're waiving, saying, hey, you're responsible for your group. You assume the risk by this. If you're going to have this group and you're going to serve alcohol, you assume this risk. So, again, like you said, with anything else, it's not foolproof, but at least it would add an extra barrier from a potential lawsuit.
Well, then also, I mean, there's another thing. If you have, say they get out there and start getting drunk out there in a party, they can start tearing up property, and if you don't have someone out there to stop them, I mean, because I've been out there before and catered events, and there's I mean, I'm the only person that's really there from the city sometimes, or from here, and some of those things can get kind of crazy sometimes, but I don't know. I mean,
Well, that being said, though, with what you're saying, even if we do decide to continue to have an officer out there, I still think the waiver is good.
yeah.
You know, I mean, any extra protection that we can get for our city, I
Right.
think we ought to have that already in our set up.
Right.
If we have to, I mean, if it's additional cost, I mean, I don't know what the total cost for renting the facilities are. We may have to take that in consideration if that has to happen, you know? So I think there's lots of ways we could fix it without having to take away the safety from the people that are out there. You know, I mean, because if you don't have alcohol, you don't have to have anybody. But if you do, it's that simple.
Right.
I mean, we could change the wording to go, police officer and, police officer or, certified event security staff. Because, I mean, I know Deanne Sherman has approached Jim Bowie Days about providing ticketing and security. Because, like you, I would love to see us have event security, at least for Jim Bowie Days, and have another officer available for responding to the off-site parking lot
Right.
issue, to me, that would be the best of both worlds. Haven't discussed whether it's going to be financially feasible or not, but, if something like that were in there, would a company like that pop up? I mean, Jason's right, we do have veterans and stuff in the county. Would something like that pop up if the language were in here that made that feasible?
And you may open up yourself to a whole different liability then, because you've got somebody that's,
Yeah.
you don't know their mental status and you don't know their physical status, and they no telling, now they're representing the city sort of.
Well, no, they would be
I don't know.
representing security
Well, they
and
don't
have to
know
have
our-
their own insurance.
They don't know our mental status either.
But, again, it would be, what they choose to do for security and their, I'm assuming their security company would have to have their own liability insurance or,
Yeah.
type of, like I said, that would be in the wording that I'm hoping Shay would help us with, there would be something about a way to designate the type of security. It couldn't just be my uncle in a suit type
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that what you're kind of addressing is if you are using some type of security personnel or so forth, whoever they're working for, they're licensed, they've got the training and so forth, versus, and I think what we're worried about when we use the word veteran, we're thinking just anyone off the street who doesn't have the license and training, and that could potentially be an issue in regards to, okay, was this person really fit to do this job or so forth? Or under the example that you're giving, at least they would have some kind of training, and they would fall under the guise or an umbrella of whoever they're working for.
Well, the easiest way to resolve this is I think we ought to reach out and look at some avenues before we, just nix it. We just talk to some other security companies. I mean, research it a little bit. We hadn't had a problem in the past. This is the first time it's really come up. So let's look at an alternative without not having security out there.
I mean, I would be open to upping the $25 to $50 tonight, and that's,
I've already done that.
okay. And then, let's.
Is that going to resolve, I
look
mean,
at-
raising it to $50, is that going to resolve it?
Well, that'll resolve it will help tremendously, yes.
Well, I mean,
The
I'm
only
gonna tell
issue
you-
and I'll tell you, some of the officers complain about when the city has a city-sponsored concert, because they're employed by the city and it's a city function, they're not getting paid the 25 even. They're getting paid their normal rate. And most of them are not even going to reach, they're giving it for free because they're scheduled.
What are they going to be doing if they're not out there?
Well, they're on
Just gonna
their
run this-
days off.
Huh?
If there's people that are on their scheduled
Okay.
days off, time off.
Okay.
They're just not happy about that sometimes. And I know, life's not perfect. You have to do things you don't want to do.
I don't
but-
think I quite understand what you're saying. If they're on their days off, they're not getting paid to come work for the city?
If they work an event at the community center on their day off.
A concert?
A concert, they're getting paid their hourly rate. But we're scheduled 168 hours every 28-day pay period, and you're not going to get any pay for it till you reach 172. Is it 72? 171. So if they're out there 3 hours, Their check's no different. And they put 3 more hours in for the city, and they don't see anything.
So if this is a problem, then that's where we need to start, is if it is a function outside of their patrol or officer duties, and that would be a concert.
Right.
They need to receive the same pay that anybody else would receive at that $50 an hour.
And I don't know how
That might be
you
the-
legally address it. I don't know.
That's got to be addressable.
I believe there's something that says you can't, I can't work for the city making $17 an hour and then come back to the city doing almost the same exact job making $50 an hour. I don't think they allow, it's
the
allowed.
same exact job.
Sir?
It's not, I mean,
Well, I mean, they're still doing their same duties.
right.
So
And it'd be
if
like,
they're in a police
it's like I
officer-
can't work for the police department and then go work at the fire department on my day off and get paid a different hourly rate. I have to get paid I'm already a city employee. I think that's why it's that way.
So,
Exactly,
It's not
that's why it's
considered-
that way. The
Well,
Department of
does
Labor
it-
looks at it that way.
right.
Right.
Does it
Right.
happen, realistically, does it happen that often? I mean,
Not real often, but sometimes when the concerts are going on, then what we do is we put out a deal saying, hey, there's a concert Saturday night. They're always on Friday and Saturday night. The officers are rotating where they're working 3 weekends in a row, and then their weekends come around, they're going, I don't want to, I just got my weekends off. I don't want to work weekends again. And they're saying, I'm going to have to come in on Friday night when I'm off, first one in 3 weeks, and I'm not even going to notice it on my check. So I get a little bit of what they're saying. I know it's just part of the duty, and we'll do it no matter what, but those are some concerns they have.
we'll think about it.
And I don't know what the answer is to that.
The private security may be the solution to the problem,
It could be.
because that takes those guys out of it and gives them their weekends and stuff. So I'll check into it and see what we can find out.
I appreciate the sentiment of wanting
But
to
they
raise it.
can
I just
work
don't
in-
think you can legally do
So,
that.
but they could work any other off-duty job and take on their days off.
Any other off-duty
and-
job that is not, because what happens is I'm telling them, you're scheduled to work the
Right.
community center. If they're doing it on their day off and somebody else is paying them, not the city, they can pay them whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
Because we do that when we have a function out there.
Right.
We take care of the officers ourselves.
And there's a going rate, which is the $50 an hour is what generally every police officer in Texas gets paid for off-duty work by somebody else.
Well, I think we just need to research it and see what we can do, and then come back and talk about this a little bit later. But just continue like we are for just, but we will address it.
Okay.
Would that rule apply if it was coming from, say, the chamber or the EDC instead of the city?
I don't know the answer to that.
What do you mean, would that rule
Well,
apply?
I see your point. You probably could make the person or the organization that's written the facility pay the police officer.
Yeah, but he's talking about our own concerts.
Yeah,
Our own concerts.
Yeah, the
That's what-
city concerts.
Charge Bonnie.
That's where they get paid the least amount during city stuff than any other event which is just, I mean, I think that's the law. I don't know what you do about it. It's not because the city's trying to do anything to them, that's just how it is. I just don't know the answer to that.
Okay, we got to do some research on that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to make this, but somebody needs to table this so we can do
I
some
make a motion, we
research.
table this till we get further information.
I'll second it.
Do I have to vote on the table? All right, so Gunner,
Aye.
Higgins. Higgins,
Aye. I'm sorry.
Bates,
Aye.
Heffley,
Aye.
Bell, and Love.
Aye.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments? If not, then I will adjourn this meeting at 7:43. That look good? 6:43? 6:43? Thank you. 6:43. 6:43. Good night, Cindy.
I've got to wake